much for both of you for being here. I guess, sort of, we didn't touch on C through F. C basically, which is bonding against future lottery revenues for the next 30 years and removing those revenues from funding for education on an annual basis after this year. D, which is basically undoing Proposition 10 and taking away funding for children's services. E, which is undoing Prop 63 for mental health services. And frankly, the frustrating thing for me in all of this, and I'm very torn on this, is that for years we've watched our legislature basically kick the can down the road by coming up with all kinds of temporary patches for long-term issues. When Arnold Schwarzenegger first got into office, he created a long-term issue by undoing the vehicle license fee and then created a temporary patch with the bonds, the revenue bonds. And now the legislature and the governor don't seem to have the political will or the wherewithal to do it, so they're kicking the can to us, to kick the can down the road for them. And this is not a solution. This is not a solution to the issue that we're facing. It is a temporary thing which is only going to make everything we're facing that much worse. And my frustration is, if we don't prove these things, we have you were right, Elizabeth, we're already, the legislative analyst is saying, well, we've already actually still got our $8 billion shortfall this coming year. And that's out of $90 billion to $100 billion discretionary spending, and they supposedly closed the $40 billion gap. They didn't. So even if we pass this, we still have a shortfall, and if we don't, where the heck are we going to cut? Where are we going to cut? It just doesn't make any sense to me that there's any logical way out of this right now, and I just wanted to see what are the hard choices that either of you think we can make right now.
I wish our folks in the state legislature, the state
welcome.
it's on.
Nope, sorry.
It says it's on. Well, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll just talk in my deep voice. Yeah, I don't necessarily know that if they pass, like, we're definitely damned if these pass, right? And if we don't pass, we have to go back to the negotiating table, everything's open again, and God knows how long that will take. I don't know what maybe other people do. I'm not a state expert. I know I can tell you everything you want to know about the county of San Francisco, but the digging ourselves in a hole for the future when we have these taxes at least for 2 years doesn't seem to be smart, and it certainly has very dire consequences. So, yeah.
I think that's the question right there. You framed it perfectly. This is not a long-term solution. Where else can we go to cut? Where else can we go to make these cuts? I will tell you that even though this budget package doesn't smell the greatest, people are going to start going back to work. The bonds, they've been unfrozen. Lockyer has been releasing them. John Chung's office has been talking about people are going back to work. That's why the building trades are in full support of 1A through 1F. Well, I'll just say 1A through 1E, right? We'll leave 1F and Prop 13, another Prop 13 off this right now. But, police and firefighters, they're in favor of these initiatives. This is the issue. We have to do something to stop the bleeding. And I agree with you. In terms of being torn, doesn't feel good. But we have to do something and then come back and join together. We have to elect a new governor that actually gives a damn about working people in 2010. It's something that I don't think have gotten really serious about since I've been working in politics in California. Is finding a governor that's actually going to do a good job. We have to amend the 2/3 requirement. We have to come back and then address Prop 13 and those types of issues. Split roll is another issue that we've been pushing in CTA. Reassess commercial properties. Close tax loopholes. These are the real issues. This budget deal, it doesn't feel good, but it's something that we need to get back on track again.
Hi. So Rick, you said this is not a long-term solution, and that people are construction workers are starting to go back to work. The economy's tending to improve. So, you're right, it's not a long-term solution, it's a long-term problem, because we're going to be frozen at the level of spending. When you yourself have said we've cut to the bone, we're at the worst possible time right now, but what this spending cap does is going to perpetuate that forever. So how can you justify that?
Well, I can tell you that this wasn't my budget deal. This was a deal that was put together in Sacramento.
But you're supporting Prop 1A.
CTA is supporting Prop 1A, and as for the reasons I mentioned earlier, this is going to allow public education to come back to a funding level and even increase its funding level beyond the minimum guarantee of Prop 98. Right now,
the Prop 98 money has been stolen from schools for years. The governor takes it away. There's some legislative fix that's supposed to bring it back. Then the governor takes it away by finding another way around that legislative fix. And so there's another legislative fix. The Prop 98 money has always been a tug of war. And I think to hang your hat on hoping that this is going to be the final solution that's going to give schools that Prop 98 money is a forlorn hope.
You know, if you what I said is this is not a permanent long-term solution. There's obviously some other things we have to do as citizens of this state to address the problems. As I mentioned, the governor, we have to amend the 2/3 vote. We have to go after the split roll. I mean, there's single-payer health care. Those are some serious problems that we have to address. This May 19th ballot is not going to address all those issues. But it's also not going to permanently keep revenues and expenditures in the health industry, at a certain level. There is room for growth, right? And there is room also for us to
revenue growth, but not for general fund growth. That's the whole point.
There is room for general fund growth if we get a governor who actually gives a damn about working people, right? And we get somebody in there that will actually vote on revenue increases, right?
The revenue increases will not go to the general fund. The revenue increases in the future will go into this stabilization thing. That's what the point of this is.
Prop 1A, if you read it, any type of revenue increase is above and beyond the spending limit. It's above and beyond the smoothing, the cap, whatever you want to call it. It's above and beyond it. Read the initiative. I know it's painful and it probably puts you right to sleep. It has to me a couple times. But if you're suffering from insomnia, read 1A and you can get through it. It says it explicitly in there that any type of revenue that's passed is above and beyond the cap.
It's above beyond tax, but it's considered unanticipated revenue and it goes into the stabilization fund, not the general fund.
No, that's incorrect.